evening, viewers. It's great to have you back here on the Urban Debate tonight. Over 48 hours since a shocking attack on JNU students that the nation watched, but the police are yet to make any breakthroughs in that case. The nation watched a mob, a masked mob, lay siege on the JNU campus. Police say the investigations are on. Not even a single person has been identified or named, let alone be arrested in this case. Meanwhile, 2 FIRs have been filed by the Delhi police against the JNU Student Union President Aishe Ghosh, now who's become the face of the JNU unrest. But these FIRs are actually filed in incidents that took place in the run-up to this mega violence case. Ahead of January 5th, there were also other scuffles, acts of vandalism, destruction of property on the JNU campus that was carried out by students, and Aishe Ghosh has been booked for 2 of those instances. The first instance is of January 1st, whereas the time of the incident has been noted as 1 p.m. The complaint was submitted to the police on that day itself. Aishe Ghosh and 7 others were allegedly blocking Communication and Information Services office, allegedly vandalized the server room. But the FIR for this Jan 1st incident was filed on January 5th, Sunday evening, at about 8:39 p.m., just minutes after violence broke out on the campus, while people were desperately calling the Delhi police for help. As the Delhi police was entering JNU, they also had the time to file an FIR in an incident on January 1st. Now, while I have zero sympathy for anyone who takes law in their own hands, I have zero sympathy for students who resort to this kind of ugly, violent politics and block college work, block the registration work, destroy servers or Wi-Fi setups. I have to ask questions of the Delhi police this evening as well. I have 7 very specific questions for them, largely point to one direction. Question number 1 that the Delhi police must answer: why did Delhi police let the masked mob run rampage for over 2 hours on Sunday evening? Question number 2, taking the same thought forward, police knew about the masked mob by their own admission in their own FIR. They were first alerted about this at 3:45 p.m. They did not enter the campus until 7 p.m. Why? When they knew what was going on, why didn't they act? Question number 3, why did the police ignore cries of help from JNU students and faculty members? Between 4:30 p.m. and 7 p.m., we know at least 96 calls were made to the PCR. Question number 4, despite so many alerts, despite knowing what's going on, how did the masked mob escape with the police standing right outside, inside and outside the campus? Question number 5, over 48 hours have now gone by. Why has the Delhi police not even identified a single ghoul? Question number 6, and this is an interesting one. Without knowing who these attackers are, without having identified even a single one, named them, how does the police know their political affiliations? Because police seems to be suggesting to our reporters, the sources are telling us, that the first attack was carried out by left-leaning students, the Periyar hostel, and the second attack in Sabrimala hostel was actually carried out by right-wing students. Strange that their ideologies are known, but their names and faces are not. Question number 7, if police barged into Jamia University a couple of weeks ago, then what made them wait this time around? That's simply what we are asking this evening. Yashovardhan Azad, former IPS officer, joins us this evening. Sonajaria Mins, former president of JNU Teachers Association, with us. Anaga Pradeep, councillor with JNU Student Union Wing. Shantanu Gupta, author, joins us this evening. Raju Kumar, member of the ABVP, with us this evening. First up, I want to go across to Mr. Azad. Mr. Azad, you heard my questions. What is your own sense? In 48 hours, they haven't identified anybody. They let the miscreants get out of the campus, didn't act for 2 hours. Should the Delhi police not be asked any questions?
Well, I think you have pretty well summed up the entire situation, and I would certainly agree with you that the police inaction here is absolutely unforgivable. Those masked men were moving around for about 2 hours, and in fact, In the police FIR itself, it is apparent that the information was received in the afternoon. But much worse than that, I must also bring out this point which you have said earlier, that this issue was festering for the last 5 days. And therefore, you know, a lot of channels like the intelligence channels and the footmen on ground would be informing the top brass of the police as to the situation, what is happening. And in a case like this, it is surprising to hear from the police spokesman that they were waiting for the permission from the authorities of the JNU. Though I talk separately about the blame which can be put about the JNU on the JNU administration itself. But the fact is, as you rightly pointed out, that if the police can go into Jamia in hot pursuit of those miscreants who were creating trouble on the streets, that in this case, the goons were right inside the campus. So if there is a cognizable offense which is taking place in anywhere, I mean, the police has every right to enter the campus. And this fig leaf of a permission from a vice chancellor to go inside, I don't think I really buy that argument. You know, secondly, there is a lot to be said of the timing of these incidents. You know, in the wake of the elections just being announced, in the wake of the lawyer-police clash, in the wake of the police action which took place in Jamia, it does appear to me that the police top brass seems to be vacillating in taking action, and they want to do only a post facto investigation after things have died down. And that's why you will see that in one case where the FIR is being investigated against, of course, 2 more FIRs have been lodged. I can talk about that also separately. And in the second case, there is also an inquiry which is going on by the joint CP, which will, of course, reveal the background of this case and which will clearly reveal that this thing was festering for last 5 days. Now, my last point is that now even if the Delhi police, which is aware of the political affiliations on both sides, does the investigation without fear or favor, I'm sure everything will be laid out bare before the public. And it is important in this case because 3 sets of people or stakeholders need to be, their actions need to be brought to light. One is the police, second is the JNU VC and the staff, and third is the political parties who are using these students for furthering their own goals. By and by, I do feel, as you rightly said, that the first thing is to arrest these goons. There is no question because the CCTV is there, the witnesses are there, and the entire background is there. Their soldiers are on ground and the intelligence inputs are there. And therefore, it is very, very important that the police redeem itself and catch these persons. About apportioning the blame on the other people, I will do it along as you further in the course of your consultation.
Okay, and I will keep coming back to you on that, but let me actually go across to our panelists who are joining us right now, and actually want to go to Raju Kumar first. Raju is in our Noida studios and clearly has an injury. क्या हुआ राजू आपके साथ?
On the evening of 5th, a mob led by Aishe Ghosh and Satish Yadav. Aishe Ghosh is president of JNUSU and Satish Yadav is a general secretary belonging to ISA. They attacked Periyar hostel. I was in Periyar with my friends standing at the gate. The mob comprised of at least 200 to 300 people, all most of them masked, some of them were not masked. They started pelting stones at our hostel. They started beating students who were trying to take videos. And through all that, I was making a video and a stone hit me, and that's where I got injured.
Did any of you at that point of time, call the police? Were you able to get through the police that's deployed around the administration block, or call the PCR number, the emergency number? Did anybody try to reach out to the police when the attack was going on?
Obviously we did. Actually, before being chased, before being beaten in Periyar, we were chased out from the admin block. We was waiting, writing our complaints. Some of our first year students, supporters of ABVP, were beaten when they went out to take registrations for the new semester in the morning at around 11 and 12. They were beaten by the left activists for taking registrations, and when we were writing complaints for them, a mob, the same mob of left affiliated students, they chased us from the admin block, and we came to Periyar, and then they attacked us there again. When they were chasing us from the admin block, we had called the police. We called police at Periyar. I saved my life by hiding on the water tank of Periyar hostel. For at least an hour and a half, I was waiting at the rooftop of Periyar hostel with blood profusing from my head.
And nobody came to help. Nobody came to your rescue. What about the police? And this is what, let me ask Sonajarya Mins on this question. There is police deployed inside the campus and outside the campus. What's the point if students are bleeding, calling for help, and nobody responds? Is that how it usually works?
Well, about this, I think the police is in a better position to answer as to when and how they must respond. But what is disturbing to note is that they need orders to respond and even react. Now, because I think, but then I at this time fail to hold just police responsible for not responding. I think prior to that, what needs to be taken into cognizance is how and why has JNU arrived at this juncture 67 days or 66 days. I think 5th of January was the 68th day. Now, for 68 days in a row, if students of this university try to raise a question which is only to asking that an issue be addressed through the laid down procedures of JNU, I fail to understand as to why the administration has been reluctant in following the procedures. And because I understand your question, which is why the police acted or not acted at certain point of time. But my question goes back to why did JNU reach this point, and why shouldn't we be asking this question as to who is responsible to let JNU arrive at such a juncture of a point where violence has finally broken out. I'm not even trying to pin down as to who's responsible for this violence, but on that day of January 5th. But my question is, who has allowed this situation to come about?
No, but whatever the reason is, and of course there is a big debate, and we've had that debate many times, for a university and their fee hike, the entire country has been linked to that debate and has had a view on it. But tonight I need to focus on the violence, and while there is no justification for the violence, let's be very honest, many people have jumped the gun on accusing only one side or the other. It's very, very clear that violence actually happened from both ends. There are videos, there is evidence, there are WhatsApp chats that show violence took place from both. So yes, I do agree with you. Questions must be asked of the JNU administration and of the police that why did you let it build up for those 3 days? We were just running shots, drone shots. Now these have also now emerged from JNU, and people who were just a short while ago who had gathered for a meeting outside one of the hostels. They shot this video and they said that, well, this looks like this is how the Delhi police is keeping an eye on us, and they have a drone now flying over our heads to keep an eye on us. Well, my question simply is that if the Delhi police can do this today, why couldn't they do it 4 days earlier and stop this on time before Raju's head got smashed or Aishe's head got smashed?
Can I just quickly respond to that?
Yes.
Yeah. I think even before asking for police's action, I think JNU has the system of proctor office and a whole lot of people who are involved in order to even respond to any information that comes about indiscipline of students. I have been a proctor myself for 4 years, and the moment there has been any information whatsoever, I'm not taking sides, I'm just talking about the situation of indiscipline at such a juncture. It used to be the duty of the proctor's office to immediately take cognizance of the information that was received, not wait for a written information from one student or the other. But they used to, this was again a culture of JNU, that the proctor, somebody from proctor office and somebody from security, in fact the chief security officer in most cases used to rush and then give a call to proctors and all the other shots, so that people reach the point, the teachers and all those responsible in the administration reach the point in order to bring peace or even reconciliation or even diffuse the situation if it's required to be. So at the first instances of supposed violence,
Yes.
I think it was the responsibility of JNU administration
Correct.
to first respond even before us letting the situation to reach when police needed to respond.
Fair enough. So now I'm just going to read out, because this comment came just a bit, Mr. Azad, I'm coming to you next, but I just want to read out what the JNU administration has to say in its defense. And the JNU administration says that, well, we informed the police at the right time, but no action was, and I'm just going to read out. Around 4:30, we got to know that a group of students are moving towards Periyar and other hostels. We sent our guards as soon as we got to know about it to assess the situation. As more students gathered, it became apparent that they cannot control, and immediately the police was contacted. Both the police personnel and our security guard contained the situation. I don't know what containing of situation is the JNU Vice Chancellor talking about, Anaga, because right after the Periyar incident, there's masked mob, appeared at another hostel, maybe not the same people, different people, and violence just continued unabated till 7 p.m.
I think a few things I would like to clear out is the violence that took place on 5th was in continuation of the violence that has been happening for the 2-3 days.
Correct.
It escalated the most on 5th, of course. And since morning on 5th, there has been instances where there has been small instances of violence where students were being beaten up, where we were being abused publicly, we were being given swear words, and they were trying to, the people from ABVP were basically trying to instigate us and provoke us into violence, but we totally refused, and we totally stayed away from any sort of violence. And the thing was, it was not just the political activists that were being attacked on the day, because I remember around 2 or 2:30 p.m. near the ad block, around 50-70 ABVP activists had gathered, and we were receiving messages that common students who are not affiliated to any organizations were being attacked.
Yeah.
That's when we all rushed to the ad block, and then what happened was a very ugly scene happened. They were abusing us, they were giving all sorts of swear words, and then in response what we took out was a peaceful march. And a peaceful march, it was led by the union. There were union members present in it. I don't deny it. I myself was a part of the peaceful march.
I don't think
the time we reached
Godavari
hostel, we were pelted stone set.
Let's be honest about it. I think there were
I would also say that
there were mass
police
miscreants,
officers,
perhaps from both sides. There were mass miscreants from both sides. The Delhi police knows this. Both sides have released videos. We have a video of Anaga. We have a video of Aishe leading a group of these masked miscreants. Now, if they all wanted to,
if you watch the video, if you watch the video, you can clearly see that none of them are having any sort of weapons with them.
Why are they hiding their faces?
There is no sort of evidence for any sort of violence that has been resorted to.
Why are they hiding their faces?
And it is not, Aishe herself was not covering her face. If she was going for attack, if she indeed was saying that as you say, she was going to attack somebody, why wouldn't have she covered her face as well? So, and the people with she was talking had not covered their face as well.
Well, I'm just wondering who beat up Raju Kumar. I'm very I mean, unless ABVP guys themselves beat him up just to make his, sorry state of affairs and paint a sorry picture about
We
ABVP.
have seen this drama last year as well, after the elections, when ABVP conducted a huge drama that we had beaten up them, but there were thousands of common students who are not affiliated
we can
to
go
any
back and
organization.
forth. We can go back and forth
That no
on
sort of
this, Raju. We can go back and forth on this. Can it be denied that students, irrespective of their ideology, do resort to violence, do pick up sticks, do pick up rods? Some of them reportedly were carrying acid on Sunday. Is that true?
Apparently, I've heard that acid bottles were thrown at Peria Hostel. One of our activists, the point where she's mentioning that they rushed to admin block, they rushed to save some common students. They didn't. They rushed to beat us. They rushed with rods, and we have videos where it's clearly seen that they have rods in their hands. They have stones in their hands. They are covering their faces, and they are abusing us. We can show you. We can show you the videos. Okay. Our senior activist Valentina Brahma, a member of Delhi State Unit. She was beaten by an ISA activist. I can name her.
No, I don't. Okay. Right. Okay, yeah, very quickly, for our viewers who are wondering what's running on the screens right now.
Anima Sonkar in...
Yes, let me just point out what's running on our screens right now. You can see Aishe Ghosh, you can see Kanhaiya Kumar, former JNU Student Union President, now a politician. And actually behind them is Deepika Padukone. Deepika Padukone is at the JNU campus right now, sharing the podium with the student union former and current president. Let's also keep in mind that Deepika Padukone of late has also been promoting a film, but that film is actually about an acid attack victim. So we don't really know why she's at the JNU campus right now. Okay, well, Kanhaiya Kumar doing what he is known for the most, sloganeering there, and obviously getting the students there also to join in his sloganeering. Shantanu Gupta also joins us this evening. Shantanu, again, and we've had this debate yesterday, and I will ask this question again. I found it very, very strange that the Delhi police knew that the attack on a Periyar hostel was led by left-wing students, and the one subsequently was led by right-wing students, but they haven't even named, booked or arrested anybody.
I think, Tanvi, first of all, I should commend you that very conveniently you have changed the narrative when on the day when we should be discussing the FIR 1 and FIR 2 against Aishe Ghosh, that how she is leading students, this mass students, and stopping a lot of students to register, destroy the whole university exam system. We are not discussing that. We are just passing buck to the police. See, we all know in what conditions police work. Police have their own constraint. Police have their own resource problems, and they have filed a FIR. We should discuss why Aishe Ghosh was doing that, why she was spoiling the Wi-Fi, why she was not allowing the people to register, and it's a very obvious case now. They were fighting against the fees rise from last couple of months. Finally, students went and registered. Their whole 2 months effort was going waste. So who will get angry? They got angry and started beating people. That's we should be discussing today.
Are you justifying the violence? Are you justifying the violence?
This is the only named
by saying they got...
We are trying to discuss 5 p.m., 6 p.m., 7 p.m. What happened? don't try to shift the goalpost.
Okay,
We
I can
should be
also
discussing
highlight,
Aishe
fair
Ghosh,
enough point.
FR1, FR2. That should be the
Fair
debate.
enough, Shantanu. In fact,
But
because
it's
you
very
raised that
shameful
point,
that somebody is justifying violence.
I think you kind of missed my introduction.
Because
Maybe
all
the
our
introduction
decisions
itself
to
had the
boycott
details of the
exams.
2 FIRs that have been filed. The first incident of January 1st.
I've heard it word by word.
And then the subsequent incident that took place. The FIR for both of those, by the way, were filed after 8 p.m. on January 5th. At a time that, 96 PCR calls had been made, SOS had been sent from JNU because violence was unfolding. The Delhi police, which you say is overworked and overburdened, found the time at 8:30 p.m. to file FIRs against these two. I have no love lost for either of the two sides, and Aishe Ghosh should be punished if she actually resorted to that vandalism and destroyed the server or the Wi-Fi setup or whatever. Nobody is sitting here and backing violence. My question here is the different benchmarks that the Delhi police has, for taking action in those cases and not taking action in this case. For actually barging into the library of Jamia University on the day of violence there and not bothering to enter here, maybe simply waiting.
Channels like yours also have a different benchmark of demonizing police in Jamia and calling names now. Channels like yours also have different standards of demonizing police when they enter in Jamia and now saying why they have not entered. Chit bhi meri, pat bhi meri. If they enter inside the campus, I will crib. If they don't enter inside the campus, I will crib. I have to crib anyways. That's your line of argument.
What is channels like you?
The thing is,
Tanvi, I'd like to interrupt.
What is channels like
Delhi
you, Mr.
police
Shantanu
took no
Gupta?
action when
Tanvi, can I come in?
I know a percentage of people today in our country love to label everything and love to categorize everything, but I want to know what category are you putting me in?
3 weeks back when you were cribbing about why police entered inside Jamia.
What do you mean by channels like you?
Because 3 weeks back, I participated in debate in your own channel.
Correct.
Allow me to speak at least. You're speaking over me continuously. The people who agree with your point of view, you're allowing them to speak. You're heckling me continuously. Allow me to speak. 3 weeks back, your channel was debating why police have entered Jamia. Now your channel is debating why police did not enter Jamia. At least be clear what you want exactly.
Yes, because in this case, the JNU administration says they called the police.
Yourself.
In this case, 96 calls were made. In this case, now listen, do you have the patience to listen to my answer? Do you have the patience to listen to my answer? I don't know why you're getting so agitated.
I was listening for all you guys from last 20 minutes anyways.
Okay, so point number 1, Shantanu, the difference in the two cases is that I haven't still taken a stand on either of the two cases. I'm simply questioning the different benchmark that the Delhi police has. Point number 2, yes, is that 96 phone calls were made to the PCR. And the Delhi police was called in. The JNU administration themselves says, Delhi police itself admits, but it chose not to do in JNU what it did in Jamia. And hence the questions must be asked, why are the benchmarks different unless Delhi police gets instructions from elsewhere on when to enter and when not to enter? That's simply the question I'm asking. Mr. Azad, is that a fair question to ask? Is the SOP same or different?
Tanvi, I'd like to interrupt here.
Raju,
let me first talk about the other issue which has been discussed by a lot of people just now.
Yes.
And that is that I would like to apportion a fair share of the blame on the JNU Vice Chancellor and the authorities who are sitting on an issue which was festering for the last 67 days, as pointed out by one of the speakers. Now, every university has student groups and they clash. And it is the fatherly figure of the vice chancellor or the teachers, etc., who solve the situation most of the times. So maybe that the police was waiting that the issue could be solved between the students themselves, or between the administration, or between the teachers and the students, a different thing altogether. But the point is that why didn't the VC engage in discussions with the students on the fee hike? And secondly, to find a way out, either he would have come through with some solution through the negotiation, or expressed his clear inability to say that the hike cannot be brought down, so this is it, and this is a fait accompli. Secondly, if there was no recourse, then he should have taken a firm action against those people who were vandalizing the server room and not allowing a large majority of students in the JNU who were peaceful, who wanted to register and who wanted to give the exam. So here is where the failure comes. He has at his command a security staff of the JNU which manages the access control, and we should have come into action immediately. Now tell me, at one time, the JNU officials keep talking about the permission, etc., and the entry of the police. On the second hand, they are saying, I have given 96 calls and nobody is coming. Isn't it proper for the Vice Chancellor to ring up the police top brass and inform them of the situation? Therefore, I am not of the view that the JNU administration can be free from the blame. In fact, let me tell you, today what is happening is that the so-called these vice chancellors from their highest academic pedestal don't think it proper to come down and soil their hands with the daily grind of administration, and it's a complete failure. The last point I would like to make is that, of course, there is the fault. It is now very, very clear that one group of students was vandalizing the server room. One group of students was not allowing wanted to prolong the agitation, and did not want the other students, the majority of students who wanted to appear at the exams. And therefore, students today have to think now, do they want JNU as a center of academic excellence or one of political apprenticeship? Today, no University of India even figures in the first 100 of the world. And at this rate, I don't know where we are going.
Well, I do agree with you, Mr. Azad.
Students groups have to sit together and see.
I do agree with you, Mr. Azad, that definitely the JNU administration has a lot to answer, but all the JNU administration is constantly doing is just putting all the blame on the students. Now, at some point, this deadlock has to end. This has gone on for over a month. The issue has gone on for over a month. All kinds of scuffles and arguments and strikes and heckling of students, heckling of the administration. Violence has now unfolded on JNU without any solution coming across. Raju Kumar wanted to make a point, but before I got to go to Raju, JNU Professor Mins wants to say something. Go ahead.
Yeah, I think I want to bring another point where a question with police action is also involved, but I would not like to get into it. But you see, when nearly 70 persons with sticks in their hands around 6:55, when they came out of Periyar Hostel and they walked and behaved in a manner I have not in my 28 years of teaching in JNU have seen any student behave. They were armed with sticks and stick-like implements. They had masks. Nobody is talking about this lot of masked 70-odd individuals who were also having bricks and big stones in their hands. I was there at 6:55 near Sabarmati bus stop, and I was totally shocked by this swarm of individuals coming. Now, I think police action, because the kind of vandalism that may have happened in the server room, I'm not denying that. But what must be also brought into a question is the kind of harm and the violence and actual vandalism that took place in the Sabarmati hostel, and there was no action again on the part of JNU administration to respond to this, and post that the police was called and police action or inaction was in question. I'm not getting into that, but I think it is necessary to also bring into this discussion the 70-odd individuals who had masks on their face. They had lathis and other implements in their hands and threw big stones. I was one of those who was near the, not in any of the groups, but I was standing near the Sabarmati bus stand, and I got hit by a stone and also twice by stick by these masked individuals.
Raju wanted to make a point. Go ahead, please.
Yeah, the police has not acted in JNU since last year when Vice Chancellor's house was attacked by an odd 400-500 left students. The police did not attack. The police did not act when DOS Vandana Mishra was kept hostage for over 36 hours. The police did not attack. In fact, the police was talking. The police was having a debate with Geeta Kumari, ex-JNUSU president, when she had vandalized and she had locked the server room. Why are we questioning police now? We should question those who are using JNU as जो JNU को इस्तेमाल कर रहे हैं अपने पॉलिटिकल फायदे के लिए. They've kept hostage. They've kept JNU hostage for last 60 days. They've not allowed us to pursue academic activities. They've not allowed us to give exams. They are not allowing us further to take. They are not allowing us further to take registrations. And now they are attacking students. When today the news has come that at least 2,000 students have taken registration.
Okay, can Raju, can you explain to our viewers this whole issue that's happened now? The fight essentially about registration. What is this registration for?
I think I would also like to say thing.
I will come to you, Anaga, after that. And what is this registration process for if the students haven't given their exams? Raju? Let the rest of the country understand why left and right are throwing bricks at each other in JNU.
This is a provisional registration provided by the administration with the condition that we'll finish our academic requirements between the 5th and 28th January.
But the students haven't given their exam. They are seeking admission for next year.
Yeah, most of the students have not, many students have not given the exam, but some students have given the exams.
Okay.
And if we don't give our exams till next 20th January, when will we finish this semester? When will placements come? After all, student politics is done for students' interests.
What kind
students' interest is not being fulfilled with this kind of student politics being done in JNU.
Okay, what kind of liberal politics are we talking about, Anaga, when forcefully people are being stopped from taking exams or for carrying out registration process?
One thing, our decision to boycott our exams, our decision to boycott registrations were all taken democratically. The UGBM, which is the University General Body Meeting, which is the largest decision-making body of students in the university, was held before we decided to boycott our exams. And after that, when the registrations circular came, they were center-wise GBMs held. They were hostel-wise GBMs held in order to build consensus. And it was after that we reached up to a conclusion that we are going to boycott our registrations as well, because you know, the issue of fee hike has not been resolved in the university till now. Some students may be able to afford the fee hike, but there are thousands of students in this university who would not be able to register in this semester because of the fee hike. They've already asking us to pay rupees 1,800 as room rent. Although we are still struggling and we are still striking and we are still protesting against the fee hike. It has been 70 days.
Yeah.
Of course, all of us want to go back to our classrooms. I am an MA second year student. This is my terminating year. I know what is at stake. But still we are protesting, but we are still at the strikes, and we are still boycotting registrations and exams because we do not have an option. We cannot afford to register. This is the reality of thousands of students of this university. And if students who actually wanted to give exams, there was, after we decided to boycott the official exam schedule that was happening, Vice Chancellor came with a circular that exams can be conducted online, the scripts could be sent via WhatsApp or mail. But still then students chose to boycott. If so many thousands of students have
students chose to boycott, Anaga. If students chose to boycott, who entered the offices and resorted to violence and broke equipment on January 1st and subsequently? There are 2 FIRs which also names the JNU Student Union President. Who did that?
There are 2 FIRs, but
who did that? Who damaged the server?
No union members damaged it. I know there is an FIR that has been filed, and as our President Aishe Ghosh has already stated today, if there is any evidence of she doing it or having been involved in it or any of the students in it, let action be taken against her. Let proper action be taken against her.
Quick response from Shantanu Gupta before I go back to Yashovardhan Azad. Shantanu.
I think the dots are very, very clear. I think, and the panelists already agreed that from last 2 months, they were stalling the whole examination process. They have put the whole university to ransom. Now, some students were calling their bluff and going to register for the alternate registration process, as Raju explained. And finally, we see that in auto union strikes. If auto union strike, any auto that comes on the street, they break it, because if even 5 autos come on the strike, the whole strike goes for a toss. So when this 1,000-2,000 students registered, their whole strike gone for a toss. And we have already discussed fee hike in last many debates, that how the rise in fees in JNU is comparable all the central universities. Next door IIT charges far more fees. So we've already settled the debate. And JNU administration has taken account, they have given concession to economically weaker section and people coming from socially backward categories.
We are fighting for them as well. We want education to be affordable for all, not just for JNU. We have always stated that we want affordable education for all. It's not just about JNU. We want fees to be reduced at IITs. We want fees to be reduced at IIMs and all the central and state universities as well. It is not just about JNU. Just because JNU is on streets doesn't mean that we are fighting for us alone. And I think we have made this clear. From day one, our demand has been for accessible and affordable education, not just for JNU, but not just in JNU, but in institutions across the country.
Well, I deviated from the core focus of this conversation, because a lot of this conversation has happened in the past, but I wanted our viewers to again, get an understanding of what started this, the fee hike, Rao, the incidents of vandalism, violence in the run-up to what happened on January 5th, for all those who are taking a view on January 5th violence and who did it and how and why, and you must know what the background was. Having said that, it doesn't give a clean sheet to either the JNU administration or the Delhi police. And so one more time, I will go back to Mr. Azad on it. Mr. Azad, does it sound like a case that in a university where you often see scuffles and often see, strikes, teachers and administrators being held ransom in their own offices, violence unfolding, that the police has simply decided that it's not their problem anymore? And should that be okay with us?
No, I think the problems of JNU are much deeper. And let me tell you something which is very, very serious. Even the people of Delhi are tiring of incidents which are happening in JNU like this. You can't boycott exams. You can't go and vandalize centers. You can't attack the servers. That's not done. The kind of slogans which you showed just now, which are being raised, Azadi, has no relevance to this fee hike. Fee hike is something which is going on, and you have debated it endlessly, that whether the finances of the will collapse or not if there's no fee hike. I mean, Shantanu has already made a point that there are other universities who on comparable fee structure which are there. I am shocked, if JNU only becomes a political hub where the political parties are playing their area and trying to make it a platform for their future politicians, then I feel very sad at the state of this university, which has produced such brilliant people. And when as rightly said by Shantanu, that when thousands of people are registering already, then what is the meaning of this strike? What is the meaning of these march and processions? It does not hold true. Now, the police may be blamed, but I will lay more blame on the administration, who should have been tough. They should have given a decision on the fee hike, and after that taken action against the people who precipitated it right in the beginning. All these matters of charges and counter charges, who attacked first and who attacked later, can be done by the police.
Correct.
But the basic issue of this kind, if the administration does not take any action and the student groups keep on raising these issues, then the university won't survive. And that will be a very sad day for this
Well,
city
I'm completely
and the
out of
country.
time. This is a debate for another day for sure, and we will continue to have more conversations. It's not just about the kind of design and patterns that we see in JNU. It's now also replicating in many other universities. To what extent should you have politics in universities and across our college campuses, and at what point do you draw the line? That debate, of course, continues. For now, the focus must be on unmasking those goons that resorted to such brutal violence. For now, the focus has to be in catching each one of those. Delhi police filed an FIR. They admitted in the FIR that they knew from 3:45 p.m. what was going on in the campus, chose not to come in until 7 p.m., giving us an SOP excuse that we didn't get the written permission. Very different from what they did in the Jamia case. Nevertheless, after that, what happened? How did you allow these masked goons to escape? Where did these people go? How have you not managed to identify them and arrest them till now? And more importantly, how do you know that the leftists attacked the first hostel and then as a retaliatory act of revenge, it's the right-wingers who attacked the second hostel? How do you know all of that if you've not even begun identifying these people? Perhaps the only way to crack down is tougher action against the miscreants who resort to violence. The Delhi police has to start taking onus there, and so does the JNU administration. Completely out of time. On the other side, we put the spotlight on stars, on Bollywood really joining this entire controversy, taking on a cause. Deepika Padukone, as we speak, in the JNU campus. Joining me on the other side is famous filmmaker Sudhir Mishra. Stay with me.
रविवार का दिन था, छुट्टी का दिन था, तो इसीलिए हम लोग अपने घरों में थे। और इसके अलावा हमने देखा कि पहली बार जेएनयू के अंदर, मैं 2006 से हूँ, कि इतनी बड़ी संख्या में किसी हॉस्टल के अंदर रेजिडेंट पे जो मास्क पहन के, लाठी लेके, पत्थर लेके और अंदर लोग घुसते हैं, उसमें लड़का लड़की दोनों ही शामिल था। ठीक है। और अकेला ये जो है टारगेटेड रूमों पे हमला नहीं हुआ, ये किसी बहुत बड़ी कंस्पायरेसी का हिस्सा है। सबको हाँ, क्योंकि बार्डनों के जो हमारे जो घर पे भी उन्होंने लाठी मारी है और गेट तोड़ने का जो है पूरा कोशिश किया, लेकिन हम लोगों का जो आयरन का एक गेट पहले है, डबल सिक्योरिटी है, तो टूटा नहीं, और उन्होंने जो है वहाँ पे पूरा बाहर निकालने का कोशिश किया, तो हम लोग बाहर नहीं आए।
Welcome back. Bollywood and the stars and celebrities and the filmmakers have often been accused of not speaking up enough on national policy and national controversies, often been accused of not taking a stand. What we saw last evening was very, very different. A protest that was actually held in Mumbai saw the biggest of the filmmakers, the most respected names, actors and actresses, all of them come together, read out poetry, sing songs, take a stand on what's really the big talking point, the big burning issue in our country right now, starting with the violence in JNU, but even before that with the Citizenship Amendment Act and the NRC and the protests that have actually been led and initiated by students across the country. And Bollywood is not stopping. Now, whether it's to promote her film in some way and grab some headlines, or whether she genuinely feels for this cause, we wouldn't know. But Deepika Padukone did land up in JNU today to express her solidarity with the students. She was sharing the space there with the likes of Kanhaiya Kumar, the former student union president of JNU, now a left politician, and also the current JNU Student Union President Aishe Ghosh. That's Deepika Padukone for you. Let's understand what's going on. And I've got Sudhir Mishra joining us this evening, a very renowned, respected writer and filmmaker. Mr. Mishra, thank you for speaking to us. Let's begin with the gathering you all had last evening. Oh, yeah. We had a reporter there, and she brought us reports of poems that were being read out, songs that were being, that everybody was singing there. What was the message? What was the idea behind that gathering?
That you stand with the right of the students to dissent, to protest, to have their view on what the future of education is in this country. You could disagree with them, but you cannot brutalize them. You cannot stomp on them like that. I personally am a university teacher's son. I've grown up in university campuses. I think this was beyond horrible, and to allow this kind of rampage on a campus. What is exactly the message that you're sending? And if students are not allowed to think, if young minds are crushed like this is their country. I mean, most of these kids are 22, 23, given medical science breakthroughs, they might live to be 100 or 120. They're around for another 100 years. This is going to be there. So surely they have a right to determine the future and talk about issues that impact the future of this country. I mean, of course, I mean, to be political, to politic is wrong. To be political is not wrong, because after all, to be political is what? Is to know how you are being repressed, or you're talking about freedom and the idea of your mind sort of wandering in all sorts of places, which leads to discovery and wonder and thought and art and everything beautiful. So, I mean, the protest was, I mean, I don't know if you call it a protest, but it was a kind of message of peace yesterday, I think, that you sit and sing and you sit and hold hands and you say, I mean, how come you brutalize these children? I mean, it's cruel. And that's why I think it's touched everyone, because it's amazing. I mean, I wonder often, all these uncles, and I'm kind of an uncle age myself, but whose children go to these universities and whose children are going to be the future of this country, and they sometimes talk so in such depraved ways about these children, and their youth and the way they question things. I mean, it's really horrible.
So, Sudhir Mishra,
what are we? How can we talk like this about the young?
I understand what you're saying. You've used words like brutality. You've used words like repression. Who are you talking about?
Yeah.
Who's your angst against?
Look, I'll tell you. I mean, I wasn't born yesterday, right? I made a film called Ye Wo Manzil To in 1987, right, when I was 27 years old. And the film was based on a university campus, and it was about a student protest. And the end of the film was the police entered the hostel and beat up the students, and just because they were asking a question about a fellow student who had been killed. Right, I mean, so it's not that the interference of police or the fact that these campuses need to be controlled, this idea is entirely brought out now, It's been around, and I think the idea of, the campus, the whole atmosphere being charged with putting military commanders and policemen as vice chancellors, and the whole idea of a university as a heaven for free thought and intellectual and growth of young minds has been dismantled and being dismantled for the past, 30, 40 years.
Yes.
And the idea of education as a fundamental right, all of us, if the fee structure, let's say in many places were what it is, then me as a university professor's son wouldn't have been able to afford the fees, right? So, I mean, is education the birthright of all Indians? And not is also a question there. So my angst is about all that, and I seriously think that people should, take a view on this. And I think that's the view that the students were taking. Now, I know sometimes, I mean, I'm not talking on behalf of every student, right?
Correct.
So, I mean, sometimes there could be like, they talk about protest and then they talk about one poster. Now, I mean, you're not talking about the whole protest, which is peaceful and very nationalistic, and what you heard in Bombay were songs of patriotism and love and affection and brotherhood, but you still concentrate on one poster. So, I mean, in a in a protest or in a gathering, somebody can just wander in, and that person may not be someone whom you will agree with. Similarly, in student politics or anywhere on the campus, there may be a couple of loony bins, But as a whole, the students are of JNU, and I know JNU a bit. I've studied at DU. My sister studied in JNU. I had many friends there. I walked around those campuses and lay down in the lawns of the hostel, and it was beautiful in the late
and you've
70s,
witnessed the
early
politics
80s. So,
that
I mean,
unfolded,
I think
in Delhi University or JNU in your younger days, and you yourself made the point that always there has been this kind of politics within campuses. Students have always raised their voice and expressed what they want, and we should allow them to do that. What do you think is different this time, Mr. Sudhir Mishra, that we are actually not seeing it in one campus or two campuses? We are actually seeing it in at least 12, 14, 15 different campuses across the cities of the country. 3 weeks ago, it was about Citizenship Amendment Act. Now it's about what's happened in the JNU. Is there a larger message that the students of this country are sending?
Yeah, and I think the job of the government and everybody is to listen, and to listen with a certain compassion, and to talk softly, and to be gentle, right? So there is something that has disturbed them, right? And they are not merely talking about themselves, and the young have time on their hands. They are, they are struck with wonder. They are not cynical. They don't have the load of EMIs and stuff like that, and ambition, and they don't want to be the CEOs the next day. So, I mean, they have time on their hands to think about the country, or it's great that they are, there's a thought process there which sort of not thinking merely about their own careers, but about the country as a whole, about the direction in which it is taking. So, I mean, if somebody is disturbed about the environment, if somebody is disturbed about the RA metro shed, if somebody is disturbed about what the Mithi River in Bombay, what's happening to it, the city as a whole, the educational systems in the country, the idea of harmony, of what is, of all of us living together in peace, and religion being a private matter of all, right? Who we dress, how we meet each other. I can have a rajma with a dosa. Do you mind? I mean, this is my wish, or whatever I might want to do. So, I mean, this is the idea of a free, open country within, of course, the limits of not inciting anybody to violence. Of course, that limit has to be placed. But, I mean, it's like we are filmmakers. I mean, if you put a censor on our heads and you can't talk about this, you can't talk about that, filmmaking stops, right? I mean, your mind stops working. So, I mean, as filmmakers, as artists, I think that's also why artists connect with students, because artists connect with free thought.
Yes. Well,
right?
the
singer,
critics
the lyricist,
of
the poet,
the critics of
director,
this
the
protest,
story writer connects with.
Correct. The critics of these protests, those who try to say it's not a big deal, it's just a handful of campuses, just a few students, it's not a reflection of the entire country, would say there is a lot of misinformation. The students are not understanding what Citizenship Amendment Act is about. It's not going to impact them. That what happened in JNU was actually two sets of students clashing, beating each other. In one case, it was the left wing. In the other case, it was the right wing that actually led the attack. So there's a lot of misinformation, and then a larger controversy being created at that. What would you say to those people?
Well, I would say that, I mean, maybe if the communication is wrong, then there is also failure in communication, right? I would say that I don't think people are dumb. And I think maybe it is the job of governments and everybody to see a reaction of a policy, and there is no shame in listening to people and hearing their worry about it. And you cannot have a country of anxious, worried people about their future. And I think it's I would say that to them, that be kind and gentle and talk to each other and hold hands. I mean, I get really disturbed at times, you know, when I hear this kind of dissension even within the film industry and people abusing each other. I think it's silly. I mean, I've been around for some time. I've never seen this kind of atmosphere in the film industry. I've never seen this kind of abuse. I mean, calling somebody names, and calling women all sorts of names. I mean, this is just not done, right? I mean, somebody has an opinion. I mean, so they have an opinion. And if these people who have an opinion are in a minority anyway, why are you worried?
Yeah.
I mean, they are expressing an opinion, and let them express an opinion. And this is a democracy, and ultimately the ballot will count. And you know, whoever people vote to power will come to power. And I don't think any of us protested about the elections, did we?
Right.
So, I mean, whoever will come into power will come to power. The people will voice their worries. Candidates will have their campaigns, and you know. But democracy means just more than elections, right?
Yes.
It means listening to people. It means listening to constituents, you know. And I think, I mean, maybe there is also failure at the ground level. I mean, it's not just the big leader or anything, but I think the MP, the MLA, the MLC, the Panchayat Gram leader has stopped listening to his constituent.
Yes.
I mean, I think you should relay back, right? So, I mean, I think, you know, this connection of politics with the people needs to be restored. And that's all it is, no? I mean, just a conversation, because, I mean, I don't have any political ambitions. If I had, I'd have joined politics in 1985. You know, I had all the opportunity, you know. You know, so, I mean, right, so I wouldn't have, you know, so at this age, I'm not wanting to become a political leader, right? I have no such ambition. I don't want the Rajya Sabha. I don't want the Padam Bhushan. I'm saying it on loud and clear.
I appreciate your honesty,
so, I mean,
when you say that you don't have political ambitions. Yes. But you know what we saw yesterday when you were all there and we're playing out the visuals
no,
as
I don't.
we speak.
If I had, I'm an ex-chief minister. I'm an ex-chief minister's grandson. I could have joined politics many years ago.
What we saw yesterday
I
also, you know, there was a part.
I'm not interested.
When
I'm just
the
saying,
song,
listen to people.
Yes. No, I completely agree with you. And I've been saying this for a while, that perhaps the message is something else coming in, even from the youngsters, from the people who are on the street. It may not necessarily be one issue, just one issue, but the voice of the people must be heard by our politicians. Yesterday, the song Bavra Man from your movie Hazaro Khwaishi Aisi was being sung. And, you know, I love the song. The movie is great. Do you think if you had to make, would you want to make a movie on what's happening in our country today? Stuff that we are talking about. Do you have any idea in your mind of how you would encapsulate that? The way you had, you know, the setting of students in Hazaro Khwaishi Aisi with that Naxalism background.
No, I mean, it was more left, and there was a lot of ideas floating in. In the end, the fixer was more honest than the Naxal in my film, right? So,
yes.
I mean, you know, people have to see Hazaro carefully, you know.
Right.
But I'm not going to make a film just because there is a movement and you take advantage and make, you know, but I think I'm a person who responds to my time, and you know, but you have to make a film with nuance, right? I mean, every student has a right to his protest. I may not agree with everything, you know, this generation will have its heartbreak, right? There was a movement in the 70s. There were a lot of student leaders there. They went on to become something else sometimes. Some people, you know, died along the way. Some people got frustrated and disillusioned. Some people changed. So, I mean, my message to the young would also be, you know, just kind of be a little calm and think things through. And if it's a long haul in your life, then it's not just these 3-4 things, but you have to take an overall view. For instance, all the people in all these protests don't necessarily agree with each other on every issue.
Okay.
Right. There are many film industry people who make different kinds of films, but on some fundamental issue, and that's what I think people in establishments should listen, that all sorts of disparate people are worried about that one thing, and worried that the young are being brutalized, and that they don't like. They don't like the idea of stomping on young minds. They don't like this view, I mean, this is our country as well, and this is not done in our country. And we would like you to listen to the students, listen to the young, listen, and the students should listen to those that cannot have not had the possibility of being students, because there is a whole other India there that's not been able to study, right? So, I mean, I think, you know, all these, I mean, we should all start listening to each other is, I think, the message.
Okay, well,
or
that
at least would be my message.
I will take that. I will take that as a message of peace. I will take that as a message where you tell the people, let's listen to each other. Let's bridge this divide between the left and the right, and, you know, this ideology versus that, and shun all the labels.
Let's have difficult conversations.
Let's
disagree and have
peacefully.
difficult conversations.
Yes, absolutely. Sudhir Mishra, pleasure to have you on the show and on Mirror Now.
Absolutely peacefully, and let's talk, let's voice our differences with each other, right?
I completely agree with you. Thank you so much for joining us and sharing your views. That's a renowned filmmaker Sudhir Mishra saying it's time we start listening to the other side. And I think that actually applies to all kinds of ideologies, to all kinds of people and classes of people. We need to start listening to the other side. We need to start respecting other people's views. Even if you disagree with them, let's at least try and understand what they are saying. Maybe the government needs to try and understand what the students, even if they're not so big in number, if that's what the government believes, you still need to try and understand what the students are saying right now. Why are there so many of them in different universities today, sitting for hours together in cities like Mumbai and Hyderabad and Bengaluru and Delhi and Aligarh and Banaras? Why are they all sitting there in their campuses, outside the campuses, and holding placards? What's the message they're sending to the politicians of our country? Completely out of time on this conversation.